I came from a humble beginning, and so when I went to service in 1951, my whole life changed and started changing. Then I started. I met Jim Thorpe in 1951 when he had a Jim Thorpe All American Club, and I got to meet him in 1950 November of 1951. And at the time, I heard so much about him. He was like my hero, one of the great times in my life where I met people that had honor and they were become famous. And but I met later on. I met Billy Mills, and so that kind of attached, and become made me feel better about who I met on my runs and stuff. So running, I was lucky. I met Dennis Banks, and he was my provider. He had a name, and so he could get funding for wherever we went. So all my runs, and I've run in like 21 countries, and all my runs were funded through either foreign countries or Ford Foundation, or So I was kind of lucky. I was very lucky. I can consider myself very fortunate that I met Dennis, and he opened the world up for me, and then I met people from throughout the world. I met indigenous people throughout the world, and like I say, I've been in 21 countries. So the food I ate were all foreign to me, but my dad and mother taught me that when people feed you, you make sure you give them credit for it, and not be say it's bad food or anything like that, and use a negative attitude towards it. And anyway, like I know you're a runner, and so we share these experiences that we learned from running, and the people we met, and the countries I've been in. 1991, we ran through Canada from British Columbia to Montreal, all the way through, and it was a beautiful run. We ran through the Canadian Rockies at Banff and Lubicon, through that area of the Paz and Manitoba. Our theme was all life is sacred, and water, air, the four elements. We're all part of that, and our bodies and stuff are made up of that. We have water in our systems, the air, and the heat. We need the heat, and we run on the earth, and that's our mother, our sacred mother, and so that's what we carried on our runs and throughout the world. That's the message we carried. Take care of your bodies, take care of your mind. In the long run, it'll you can survive. Like I'll be 86, and if it wasn't for running, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. And my blood pressure's good. My health is almost totally good, and I don't have sugar diabetes. My weight is still right around 175, so I regulate everything like that, and so it becomes a survival for me, and so I can't say it's wrong. It's got to be right for me. It's got to be positive for me. I ran a full marathon into outside of Moscow, and into Red Square, outskirts. There was seven of us runners that ran a full marathon in there, and that kind of stands out. Running into the Red Square, and that's running through the city, and I always thought that we were told that it was kind of dangerous to run there because it was still USSR, you know, and the United States, like after the Cold War, United States was they were kind of at odds yet, and I got to run through the Brandenburg Gate, and it just opened up that the wall. It just started tearing down the wall in 1989, and so this is 1990 that we ran through there from 13 countries, from England to Red Square to Russia. That includes, you know, England, France, Belgium. West Germany was West Germany yet then. It was still a divided country. Then we ran to East Germany, Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. Then we took a ferry across to Sweden. We ran up Sweden, so we met the Samis and Laplanders in Sweden. And they're still kind of my friends. I still keep in touch with them. And then we ran up a little area in Norway, up there, and turned then down into Finland, and we ran into Helsinki, and then we Leningrad, and to Leningrad, and that was a fabulous place. Leningrad, that's where the Russians stopped the Nazis at Leningrad, and so there's a lot of monuments and stuff there, and people always talk about that. Leningrad, St. Petersburg, it's the same thing. I felt more secure because the people accepted me. All us runners, but they knew I was indigenous, and so they treated me like that, and they really opened the door up for me to their country, you know, and so I really felt like honored and from those people, those countries, because it made me feel secure, and made me feel safe, and that they accepted me as an indigenous person, and our culture, our spirituality. They really honored that, but they thought that we had a insight to the spirit world, you know, like that, and so whatever country we went in, they always, that was the first thing that come to their mind, and me as a indigenous person, and wherever, if I met other indigenous people, they consider us like cousins, because they went through the same thing we did, you know, and in their countries, and yeah, it's I'm very fortunate that I got to when we went through Hokkaido, and that's Ainu country, and Ainu's really opened like the door up for us, and in fact they invited us to Ainu ceremony, and it was sort of like ours. It had to do with the heat, the fire, and that, and then but they used like rice wine, and that was the closing ceremony. They used rice wine, and it was really very strong. But I looked at it that it was their way, and I wanted to honor their way too as well. And I didn't want to back off a bit and say that this is wrong or anything. But so yeah, and then in Australia, we went to Australia in 2000, and we ran a 9,000 mile run there, and we had 22 runners, and we were running, you know, relay run, and so we run about a little over 100 miles a day, and it took us to run that 9,000 miles. It took us about 88 days, yeah, to run that. But then we were invited to Tasmania, and we took the the boat to Tasmania, and we ran Tasmania. I mean, some of those cities in Australia, we run through the outback, so we ran through two deserts too, you know, and I mean, we ran into the Uluru, Ayers Rock. Yeah. Just they stand out in my life, and it as I speak to you here, it has a special meaning to me, you know, and meeting another runner.